Oh, okay, so that blew out my camera. Awesome, okay. Yeah. All right, so I do see Steve Stone is in here. We are just getting things set up ahead. I have to go help the other presenter and I will be right back. I'll be right back. Sorry.
That's okay.
No, you're good. Thanks so much.
I'll be back, but it'll be at least half an hour.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. There it is. Okay, so we're getting that going. Microphone is right, that's right. All right, that chimed, and then just got to share the screen. Okay, give me just one moment. Okay, you are all set. And we'll start introductions in
So you're gonna talk
just a moment.
first?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm just going to pull up the participant list. It looks like Gail Miller's already here, Kathleen Ryan, Mary Brown is here, Preston Snyder, and Steve Stone. Preston, thank you for the sound quality check. That is perfect. That is perfect. So this is going to be those. All right. Thank you all for coming. We're going to get going in just a moment. It is 1:59, so good job to everyone who got here early. That is fantastic. Devan, can you just do a quick sound check for us?
Hi, Devin. Excited to be here.
Great, great, great. That sounded perfect. So
Awesome.
give me just one more moment. I'm going to grab some water and coffee for myself, and then we are getting going in just a couple moments. All right. I hope everyone else has their coffee with them today. Looks like Sophia Richardson has popped online with us today. Um, awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming and attending today. We're so excited to have Devan Rose as a guest with us to uh, show us how to work from home better, really. It's kind of our heart for it. We know that COVID-19 has created uh, unique and unprecedented circumstances for all of us.
Yes.
And as much as I'm not a huge fan of using that phrase, I think there's a certain amount of making our homes feel like a place where we want to be. And now that we're having to spend so much time at home, we really want to bring Devan Rose on to do a webinar with us and for other businesses and business leaders. Because we're all working from home, we all need to be getting our A game up and going constantly. And so we're hoping and excited for Devan Rose to show us how to maximize our home offices. Devan Rose, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. Very excited to be here.
Awesome. So looks like Carlene Beaumont just hopped in. Kathleen Ryan just hopped in. Marie Demplowski, Tim Stevenson, another caller just hopped in. Thank you guys so much for attending today. We are just so excited to be sharing today's information with everyone. That being said, please use the chat system to ask questions amongst yourselves and ask questions for Devan during today's session. There's a fair amount of content. However, we want to make sure that everything that you're thinking about or questions of like, oh man, I really wonder if I should be doing all modern or still farmhouse, or what are those trends looking like right now? And so feel free to ask those questions. I think about those things probably more frequently than people would imagine that I do. We're right now redoing our, if you've heard me talk on these webinars before, we've had some ceiling water damage stuff that still has yet to be resolved. And so we're working through that, but now that we have an opportunity to redo our room, oh my goodness, yeah, we're redoing our room. Tim Stevens says, appreciate you too. Thank you so much, Tim. Marie Demkowski says, thanks for continuing to bring us relevant information. We are super happy to be doing this. We love doing this. And then for those of you who don't know, we have another webinar happening tomorrow, talking about the round 2 of the stimulus package, if PPP, EIDL. There's a employee tax credit thing that actually looks really promising. We'll have Aziz Makani from the SBDC talking about how to engage with those things. So we're excited for it. We want to be involved in it. Tim Stevenson says, all modern or farmhouse, first step is a bobcat to help with decluttering. And I think that's actually, decluttering will be some of the questions I have leading into it. Like I said, we've been looking at redoing our room. And so like, in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to remove all surfaces or I'm just going to keep putting things on surfaces. But yeah, Devan, tell us about yourself. Have you been in Pullman a long time? Like what's kind of your guys' story?
Yeah, so my family moved here 2 years ago. My husband works at WSU, and my background is actually in fashion design, but my family has a history in construction, and I eventually just kind of merged over into interior design, and I started my business here last fall. And it's just been really exciting. It's a great way to meet people in the community and get involved in the community. And I've really been enjoying doing interiors here in Pullman. So
Awesome. And then do you have a favorite interior aesthetic that you like personally for you, but then maybe one that you like to use for others?
yeah, I definitely always, as far as a design style, be it farmhouse or modern or whatnot, I always want to give my client what they're most comfortable with. Sometimes they don't know what that is, but usually through a few questions, I can kind of figure out what they lean towards. But I guess I would call myself a little bit eclectic. I don't think any person is one specific style necessarily. Usually you're kind of a meld of multiple styles. So yeah, I don't want to limit my design to one specific style. I don't want to limit my clients to one specific style. If they enjoy multiple styles, there's a way to blend them together, and that's the fun part of my job, is figuring those things out and figuring out people's personalities and how to make their home reflect who they are. So
Awesome. Awesome. Well, with that, I'll hand the hosting over to you, and feel free to
awesome.
start going through your PowerPoint and the
Great.
things that you're going to show us today.
Yeah. So, as Ori was introduced, I'm going to be talking about maximizing your home office. I am kind of gearing this towards a temporary situation, but absolutely these principles can be used in a more permanent home office. They can be used at your work office. Um, but again, ask questions as we go along. Feel free to interrupt, and I'm happy to answer those questions as we go. So let's get started. Let's see. I'm not changing slides here, Adam.
Is it advancing on your screen but not on the share?
I'm not seeing it advancing at all.
Cool. Try clicking on the PowerPoint and then try making it advanced. It might just be stuck.
Here we go. Okay. So the first thing, when you're setting up a home office, whether it's permanent or temporary, is obviously figuring out where you're going to put your home office. Many of you probably have already done this since we've been home for a little while, but I just want to go through it. Maybe it'll change your mind about where your office is at, or give you some other ideas about where you could potentially have a home office if you decide this is something that you want to make more permanent in the future. So the first, obviously, most ideal place is to have a dedicated room. So if you have an extra bedroom, you can obviously share it with a guest, a bed for a guest room, but ideally you're going to maximize your storage space and maximize your function if you have an entire room. I would always recommend hiring a professional in that case to give you some built-ins that will allow you to maximize the flow and the function of your room. And in that case, that's something that you would have someone come in and do for you. But in the meantime, you can always utilize a corner or a wall space in a living room, a den, or like I said, in a guest room. I think that's the most feasible option for people. That's why I have just a wall in an extra bedroom that I use, that I have my desk against. I think the key for doing it in a living room is organization, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But when you have your office that's in a visible spot, even though right now you can't have company over, even just for yourself to stay organized so that you're comfortable in your living room while your office is also in your living room, you want to be able to relax and enjoy your space. So decorating your office and organizing your office are important things to do. And again, I'll talk about that a little bit later. One of the more unique and creative places to put an office that I have seen is to convert a closet. I think this is a really great option because if you aren't a particularly orderly or clean person, it's a great way to just shut the doors, and you don't have to look at it when you're not using it. But it also gives you options for shelving, for storage. You don't necessarily have to build your desk into the office. You can just find a desk that is a depth that will just fit inside the closet as it is. So it's I think a really great option for anyone that has an extra closet space that they can utilize for an office. You can see in the picture that I have I love how they utilize the doors. They put some pegboards on to hang a basket to put their pens and pencils. You can really utilize the storage well when you have an entire closet. Again, there's bins on the top shelf, which most closets kind of come with the top shelf like that anyways. They obviously built in their desk space and some other storage in this picture, but that's not absolutely necessary. You can put your storage underneath. They do have one file cabinet you can see underneath. Another great thing that they did, if you're in a space that doesn't have a light, adding the lamp and the mirror actually will reflect light off of it and make the space brighter than it would naturally be, even just having a lamp in there. So I really like in this picture how this designer did that. For the wall space, the desk that's against the wall, I love how they have the shelves with the pictures above it. It just makes it feel more like a living room. It makes it more comfortable space to be in when you're not actually sitting at your desk. And it's also a nice place just to sit and enjoy instead of just purely being your office work items like your computer and things like that. It gives you other things to look at. I'll talk about that more this next slide. So for a temporary office, you can see in this picture what I did for this space was, instead of having a standard desk, which maybe you already do, but if you don't, grabbing a folding table from Walmart is an easy and great way to get a desk space for inexpensive, something that when you don't need your office, potentially you're only temporary during this COVID situation, and after this is over, you're not going to need an office space at home anymore. Who doesn't need a folding table around? I know I use them for birthday parties, having extra guests over. It's just a great thing that you can spend a little bit of money on to utilize right now that you'll also be able to utilize for other things in the future other than purchasing an actual desk for your home. For your writing utensils, having a place to put them. I know I'll show you in another office space I did later on, but sometimes things just get strewn across your desk. Really having place, staying organized, having a place for your things is great. But again, if this is a temporary situation for you, you don't necessarily have to go to the store and buy things. You can use mason jars, cups, mugs, vases. There's a lot of options that you probably already have around your house that would be really great for using as a utensil holder. What else do we have?
And then to clarify on this, is this one that you did for someone?
Yes, this is a space, and I'll show you a couple slides down the before and after of what I did here. But this is a temporary office space that I set up for someone fairly recently, but it was a fun little project. So we'll talk about that a little bit more as we move on. So back to recycling bins. Again, don't feel like you need to go purchase a recycling bin. I know they're not that much money, but it can be nice to use something a little bit more visually appealing. So you can use a more decorative basket. It's just paper. So it's not going to ruin a basket by putting your extra paper in there. You probably have some baskets laying around that you can use, even if it's not the most visually appealing, but you don't need to go purchase something. Any basket works for recycling, but I know that's something that most people need in a home office. At least I know I use frequently, is a need for a place to put my recycling. And then putting things on the wall, cork boards, I know our whiteboards are common in home offices or offices in general. And a good tip is using command strips, especially if this is a temporary spot. Most whiteboards or cork boards they're not that heavy, so you can use command strips and they'll hang really nicely, and you can take it out when you're done or move it around if you need to. It's a wonderful way to hang even lighter pictures if this is a temporary spot and you want to hang some decor items, which again I'll talk about in the next slide, but command strips are a wonderful tool to create a temporary home office situation. So the importance of decor, obviously I'm an interior decorator, so this is kind of where I specialize in, is just creating an environment that is comfortable. So I'm just going to go ahead and read what I wrote here. Putting items that are enjoyable for you to look at around your home office is important for creating a productive environment. Taking moments to enjoy a picture of your family, fresh or faux flowers, or pictures of your favorite travel location can reset your mind when stressed or stuck with work issues. Also, you're more likely to want to sit down and work if you visually enjoy your workspace. Don't hesitate to add a pillow to your chair or hang a phrase or verse on the wall that you love. So again, I'm a firm believer that your productivity is going to be much better and a lot higher if you enjoy the space that you're in, and decorating and taking the time to put things that are meaningful to you, whether it's a picture of your family or a phrase or a saying that's important to you. I know some people love maps. They like when their mind wanders, they want to look at where they could go on their next vacation, or pictures of places that they visited in the past. So it's important to decorate your office, even if it's just a picture on your desk and you don't have wall space, with something that can calm you, that you can take a 5-minute break to breathe and to look at that and help relax you. I love flowers, whether they're real or they're fake. So I'll have faux flowers on my desk wherever I am. And also another big item that I think is not only inspiration, or not only decorative, but also inspirational, is doing an inspiration board. So if you're someone that gets inspired visually, or even just like to utilize boards to visualize goals and future projects, put up a cork board and just start pinning phrases to it that you love, or things, pictures that are inspiring to you. And it can have, multiple things on it. Doesn't have to be, perfectly neat and tidy, but that's an awesome way to not only decorate your wall space or a section of your office, but also have things that are inspiring and help you to remind you what your goals are, and on what your purpose is, and what you enjoy, and help reset your mind in those times where work gets overwhelming and you just need to take that 5-minute breather and look at something other than, that piece of paper or the computer or whatever it is.
So with all of that in mind, I love what you're saying. Marie asks, how do you stay motivated for work in the home environment? One of the reasons I've always struggled working from home is that I'm distracted by all the things I see that should be done at home.
Yeah, that's great. My office for my business is in my house. So I understand that 100%. I carve out a specific time in the day that I dedicate to sitting down in my office.
Hmm.
So basically, I make a schedule, and I just try to stick to it as best I can. It's not going to be perfect, and I think in some cases, especially right now, you just have to give yourself a little bit of grace if things don't go exactly as planned. But scheduling time to sit down when maybe you have kids at home. Right now I do. My kids and my husband are home. They normally never would be. So getting on the schedule with my husband, letting him know, hey, I need to be in the office at this time. Maybe it's something that you have out for both you and your husband, or your partner, whoever you live with, to see, okay, this is when I need to be in the office and this is when they need to be in the office, and we take turn with the kids. However it is that you have to organize your time, I think scheduling it and having it laid out is really the most productive thing. I know that's what has worked for me working from home. I also schedule out, okay, this is when we do laundry, and this is when I need to start cooking dinner. And things are definitely different in our house than they were a couple of months ago. and it hasn't been perfect, and I kind of have to go with the flow a lot. But I think having a plan is easier to stick to than just kind of winging it every day.
So that being said, do you have to share your desk with your husband?
I don't, thankfully. He uses my office occasionally when he's in meetings and things like that on Zoom. He has his own computer though, so I don't have to share my desk with him other than when he's using it for a Zoom meeting, which is helpful. But I'll talk a little bit more about organization, and I think that's kind of the key if you do have to share a desk. Also, just for being able to focus when you're sitting down at your desk to work, being organized is really important. Um, and yeah, I can talk about that in the next couple slides here. Did that help? I hope that helped. Okay,
I think so.
see.
One clarifier I have for you on that is when you're scheduling stuff into your calendar, do you say like this is my work block, or do you
Yes.
say like, oh, this 15 minutes I need to get this done, this 15 minutes I need to get something else done,
I
or do you
usually
just say work block?
um oh no, I just do like a work block, so like 9 to 11 a.m. How it's my work isn't very busy right now. Obviously, being an interior decorator, I can't be in people's homes at the moment. So I haven't needed to schedule as much as I actually used to.
Mhm.
But working from home before COVID happened, my computer time, my desk time was from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And that was sit down, get my desk work done. And then usually afternoons is when I blocked out for consultations and being in
Okay.
homes and things like that. So also working from home, I like to exercise and things like that. So I scheduled my exercise time out and my lunch time. And I think it's important to do things for yourself, even especially right now when life is a little crazy. So if it's going for a walk or whatever it is that is for you, schedule it so that you have that time dedicated beforehand and it doesn't just kind of go by the wayside.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Good. Okay. So here's the before and after of the home office that I showed earlier. It was just an empty corner that was in a basement. Again, everything that you see on this desk, around this desk, is stuff that was already in the home. Maybe you don't have extra decor laying around. Walmart is open. I know it can be a little nerve-wracking going out right now, but if you do need to get stuff to organize and to decorate your office, you can at least get a picture that's nice to look at, or your command strips to hang a picture you already have, a faux plant. I know they have the folding table. So if you do need to go out and buy, I'm sure Walmart will
Mhm.
have at least a couple of things to help out with that. But
That
you might
and
already have,
just a quick
yeah.
note on the Walmart. You can actually, if you use the grocery app on Walmart, you can actually purchase household items
Oh, I didn't.
off of the app and do the pickup system.
Awesome.
I've done that for lawn mowing equipment.
That's great.
Uh, so there are still ways to even get those items without even having that fear of
Go
going
in.
inside.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, so that's wonderful. And also like I said, maybe there are things that you have laying around that you just aren't utilizing, or move. Maybe you have a lot of pictures in one spot right now that you can take one and put it on your desk. Taking the time to do that will really help. But for this, I didn't have to spend any money. Everything was already in the home. She this client enjoys greenery, and so we used some faux flowers, and we used a candle that she enjoys. And for her, her whiteboard is kind of not just for to-dos, but also to write down little motivational things. It's a little bit hard to see, but there is a little cork board that's leaning on her desk that she can put post-its on for reminders or motivational little phrases that she enjoys that helps her. And again, I mean, there's a big blue plastic bin, which ideally, obviously, if I were buying everything new for a home office, I probably would have chose something a little bit different. But in this case, this is a temporary office. It's not going to be here after COVID is over. And so we just utilized stuff that she already had. She had her file folder, is that pink item in the bin you can see that she uses for filing. I threw a pillow on her chair that she already had to make it a little more comfortable because it was just a little metal folding chair. But those are things that I think are easy little tricks to make what might be a normally kind of uncomfortable chair or kind of a cold corner in a room feel softer. Even the basket that I put there with pillows and a blanket, most likely she might not use them, but it just softens the space. It's a great way to make it feel cozy, even when she's not actually using a blanket. Um, I think having soft items like faux flowers, and I know even for men, it's not something that maybe you would always typically think of doing, but it'll help soften a space and make it a little bit more comfortable to have a blanket or a faux flower or something that's not a hard surface on your desk. So something to think about. Also, you can see kind of on the back of her desk, there's a little wire basket. That was a little decorative piece that she had laying around her house that I used to put her dry erase markers in. So kind of on the same line of using a vase or a mason jar that I talked about earlier. Just find, you can find things around your house that you can utilize that maybe you wouldn't have thought of before, but get creative with it. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to go purchase something that says pencil holder on it. I think it's kind of fun sometimes to see what you have and be creative with what you might have around your house.
I think I get stuck in that mentality of when I go to Staples or other places, it has to be the thing that says
Yeah,
that purpose. I
yeah,
get really stuck on
definitely.
that.
Definitely. I think, I mean, that's common and it is helpful, especially, not everybody has obviously a designer brain. So it can be hard to think about those things, but I'm hoping, that's kind of what we can help with today is just thinking outside the box a little bit when you're putting your home office together to utilize what you might already have and be
Mhm.
creative. And you don't have to get it right the first time. I'll go over that again a little bit later, but try out a couple of different things and see what feels right and what functions best for you. It's okay if it doesn't work out and you need to try something else. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
So this slide is a lot of words, but just like to talk about placement of items on your desk for function purposes. For example, my printer on my desk at home is to the right of my computer, right on my desk. So a lot of people don't necessarily want their printer right there, but for me, I'm printing constantly and I'm constantly writing on the things that I'm printing. So for function, it's just the easiest thing for me to do is to have
Mhm.
my printer right to the right of my computer. I'm right-handed and I can get my paper, lay it down, take the notes that I need to take, and then move on. And it just flows and functions really well for me. Obviously, depending on what business you have and what your needs are for your business, that may look differently. Um, for the last picture I just showed you, her printer was kind of off to the left on the corner. It's not something that she needs as frequently, so it wasn't necessarily something she needed right in front of her at her desk, but find what it is or think about what it is that you use frequently, whether it's pens and paper, calculators. I'm not sure what that would be, but that you go through that list and write them out. And then you can start playing on your desk and around your desk with what you need most versus what you need the least. And the things that you need the least, you can put into a cabinet or a nearby closet. A great thing that I like to use is like a little plastic caddy that you can take in and out of a nearby closet. So I have a closet fairly close to my desk, but I don't necessarily want to be reaching in and out of my closet all the time. So when I sit down to work, I just take that little plastic bin out that has it has some post-it notes and some pens and paper and things like that, and I can set it by my desk while I'm working, and then when I'm done working I can just take the basket and put it right back into the closet and tuck it away. So for my next point that kind of ties in just with organizing, you kind of either love it or you hate it. I actually, despite what it might seem like, don't really love organizing, but I love the benefits of being organized. So I make a point to go through my office every now and then and get organized and to have the things on hand that I need to stay organized. So whether that's filing systems, I have like an inbox and what's like what I call a done box. So I have one box for things that I haven't looked at yet, and then another box for things that I've already looked at but don't have time to file right away. So that helps me. It gives me a place to put my papers so they're not just thrown across my desk when I'm done working in between my filing days because I don't file every day.
So with that, and this is more of a clarification because as I read that second point, I hear, oh yeah, I need to make sure my space is clear. So I'm going to take all my boxes of paperwork and put it on my dining room table until I have time to look at it again, which might be like 2 weeks later.
Okay.
How would you advise for that?
So you're saying you put your boxes of things that you need to do on your table?
It's more of I know I need to do paperwork or there's things I know are in my to-do process,
Right.
but my desk at home is a bit smaller than my one at my real office,
Okay.
and so I can't actually like fit all my paperwork with my monitor and everything else. So then I'm stuck trying to either leaving piles, organized piles, on the floor, or just throwing it all together and leaving it on the kitchen table. But then if it's out of sight, out of mind, I don't know what to do at that point.
Um, Yeah, so what I do is for me lists are helpful. So when I have to tuck things away but they're not necessarily done, that's where just writing a little post-it note, whether you need to stick it on your computer or someplace visual for yourself. Some people just to get it into their phone so it comes up, the next day at a certain time. Um, but I think the best thing to do would be to have a bin that you can put it in and get it into a closet, even though it's not right in front of you, or even if you're just tucking it under your desk. Even though it's not right in front of you, I think it will make your home more comfortable when you don't have papers on your dining room table, and then finding another way to remind yourself that there are things that you need to go back to. So for
Mm.
me, it's post-it notes. My husband is trying to get me to use my phone for remembering or reminders, but I like to write and have things out. So I use post-it notes a lot for that.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Oh, great. Another point I had on here was making it cozy, and I kind of talked about that already, but adding a pillow to your chair, or if you get cold, have a blanket on hand. If you get hot, have a fan under your desk. The things that you need to help you sit for long periods of time without being uncomfortable and getting distracted are some things that we don't think about necessarily before, like when we're getting our office put together, but it'll help you with your productivity if you're not distracted by being cold or distracted by being hot, or your chair is not comfortable. Whatever it is that you can do to physically be comfortable at your desk is really important. And my last note on this slide is for natural light. It's not essential. I'm going to show you in the next slide an office that I did that does not have natural light, but there's just something about having vitamin D coming through a window that is just helps productivity. It's just the way that we're wired. And so if you can have your desk near a window, crack it in the summertime and get some fresh air. It'll definitely help your productivity. And I try as much as I can when helping other people set up their office to set up near a window if possible.
While you're going to the next slide, do you
Yeah.
do you work with the happy lights very much, or are those utilized in designs very much at all? I'm not sure. That's
I
what I'm
haven't
asking.
I haven't personally used them, but I have thought about using them or considered them for spaces. I think it's a great option if you don't get natural light to
Mhm.
have that source. It's just something mentally that I think it just is refreshing when you can get some source of vitamin D for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a little video here I'll show you at the end, but so this is a basement storage. The middle picture you can see is what I started with. It's just a big storage room in the basement. It has no window. Um, it's an office space that is needed to be utilized frequently. It's somewhere he's at almost all day long. He's constantly on Zoom conferences and requires to be in meetings all day long. So he needs a TV on his desk. There's kind of a lot that we were trying to tackle in a temporary office space.
Mhm.
But fortunately, they had the bookshelf already, so I was able to utilize that. He sends out notes a lot. So on the bookshelf, I organized all of his notes and envelopes so that he can access that easily. He also, because he's on these Zoom conferences, wanted to have some business logos in the background. We didn't have anything on hand other than his backpack, but what a great way to take a hook and hang his backpack. And it's something he needs for work, anyways. He uses it for work papers and things. So we just hung the backpack on the wall to have his logo behind him when he's on Zoom conferences. I just wrote WSU. He works with my husband. At WSU. So I put the WSU on the whiteboard just as an extra little touch. But again, utilizing what we have a folding table, putting the TV right on the desk, hanging the backpack for a logo behind him during his Zoom conferences because we didn't have a poster. We did purchase the pencil holders for this office and the whiteboards and his little whiteboard calendar. But the posters were things that he had that I just used command strips to stick on the wall. You can see I used the TV trays to make a little side table for him for any overflow paperwork. Another thing that was important for this space, I noticed there was a lot of little odds and end pieces that were on his desk when I got in there. So I just found a basket from their house, and it's something that he can just throw items into so it doesn't
Mm.
get strewn about the desk. So if that's something that happens to you, whether it's coins or for him, it was like earbud, uh, headphones, and I think there were some coins and some stamps and things like that. So having a
Gotcha.
little basket just to throw those odds and ends in is a really great thing to have. And yeah, I'll show you this video. Oh, I wanted to highlight, I mean, it's just a little video that shows a time lapse of me putting the room together. But what I wanted to highlight in it really is the fact that you'll see multiple times I change what is behind his desk. And
Mm.
I want to emphasize the fact that it doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect the first time, especially. Don't be afraid to try something out and see how it works. And don't get frustrated if it doesn't work. I had to try 3 different things before we figured out what would be the best situation for him to work. And fortunately, I was able to have him there when I was doing this. And I utilized him, obviously, as his office and what would function best for him. But yeah, you can just kind of check out here the process.
Oh, it sounds right.
It's a lot of organizing, finding a place to put papers, hanging the pictures. I moved them 3 times. Another great thing for command strips. That's it. That was actually about 2 hours worth of work in a 30-second video. But it's yeah, just trial and error. I think even in design is a frequent thing. So don't want you to be afraid to if something that you think that you will enjoy having on your desk and try it out. And if it doesn't work, then fine, take it off, try something different.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Okay. So to clarify, so that took 2 hours of work. Was there pre-planning or post-planning that occurred at all, or things that were adjusted like the next day where they're like, oh my goodness, I probably should have done X?
Um,
Or
no, so that was all last minute. Just kind of going in there when I had a time. Again, this is somebody who's in Zoom meetings almost all day long. So it wasn't really a space that I could be in for a while to plan ahead of time. I knew what the function needed to be beforehand. But I kind of just looked at what he had and how he was using the space before, the things that he needed that were most important. Of course, I talked to him as well just to get his feedback on what were the most important things for him.
mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
but I just took based on what he needed, and kind of ran with that. So, like I said, sending out notes are frequent things for him. Letters are frequent things for him, and he has all this stationery, WSU stationery that he needs. So that's mostly what's on those shelves there. Some extra paper and extra paperwork are hidden in the closed part of the shelving. He
Okay.
had like the R and the clock and all that was stuff that they already had that I just used to put next to some of his books on the shelf to give it a little bit of a style, a little bit of little decor there. But I think it was really just a great combined effort between me and the homeowner to use what he already had, which really wasn't a lot, and then just get the couple of things from the store, the whiteboard and the pen holder, to make it function. And I think it's working really well for him so far from what I've heard.
Yeah, yeah. It looks like Sophia says in the chat, the organization really brightened up the room and made it more spacious. Awesome job,
Yes.
Devin.
Yes, this is Sophia's husband's office. So thank you, Sophia.
Yeah, no, that's fabulous because and the Zoom backgrounds is actually something that people at WSU, U of I, all across the board, they're either using like those fake backgrounds.
Right.
There's fake ones that you can use. It makes like a temporary green screen. I'm not a huge fan of them. I actually really like having a nicer backdrop. And so that's awesome. That's just a whiteboard and the backpack. Like I would never have thought of hanging something there to make it like, does he ever use that backpack?
Yeah, that backpack comes on and off. It's just a hook that's meant for like coats.
Oh, wow.
And actually we used a command strip, and that backpack is probably a solid 10 pounds. So command strips can hold a lot. He was actually the one. I used command strips before, but I think he's the one that sold me on using command strips for everything. He likes command strips too. So yeah, it is just a creative way. Again, we're trying to make a temporary space, and we
Mhm,
don't want to
mhm.
go out and buy a bunch of things for a space that won't be utilized once they're able to be back in their normal office.
Right, right.
So the hook was something they had around the house, and a backpack is something that he uses and needs around his desk anyway. So it was a great place to create a backdrop for his Zoom meetings. And like you said, I have found the fake backgrounds or the green screen backgrounds, whatever, to glitch sometimes. So you don't really necessarily get a really clear picture of the person at times. And so if you can create a backdrop, if Zoom meetings are something that you do frequently, um, yeah, it's a great option to make sure that something that's behind you is supportive of your business, whether it's a logo or a picture that is representation of your business, something like that. So
And then Steve Stone does ask, where do you guys get command strips?
Walmart for everything right now. It's about the only place that's open.
Yeah,
But I think Target, Costco probably has them.
I think so.
Uh,
And I know Staples will usually have them. Like Staples has
yes.
been actually my go-to store
Oh,
when I've been having trouble with Walmart. Like I've gotten more of my sanitation stuff
oh,
from
great.
Staples. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
they're a little
Staples
bit
is
more hit or
great.
miss now that COVID's been around for a while. Um, I think for command strips, that like you're saying that they're strong and they can do a lot. I think they do have like weight
They will,
suggested
yeah, they
weights
do.
on them too.
they'll tell you what weights they're capable of holding. And I usually want to go on the lighter side of what they say just to be safe. But yeah, you can get some. I think they hold up, I want to say up to 25 pounds for some of the heavier command strips. I
Wow, that's
even
really good.
cut, like, I'll get the heavier duty ones, but if I don't need a whole strip, I'll cut just little squares out of a bigger strip to put on the corners of whiteboards and things
Mm.
like that to make one strip last longer. So, yeah, command strips is our takeaway for the day. But that was my last, oops, there we go. That was my last slide. Um, I did just want to talk a little bit about my availability for anyone that feels like they need it. I do e-design services, so I can give some design consultation all through a web-based program that I use that you would be linked to. I can do phone consultations, and I have FaceTime. So if there's anything that anybody needs, you can look at my website is on the slide here, devanrose.com, or email me at
Mhm.
devin@devanrose.com, and I'd be happy to help out from afar with anything that I can. And yeah,
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I've seen personally a lot of Devin's work, and it is really fabulous. Like it's incredible what just a little bit of change can do to really brighten up rooms and spaces, and it's fantastic. That being said, is there anyone with questions or things as you been kind of thinking through or percolating, or maybe specific use cases? Feel free to throw stuff in the chat. We do want to take a little bit of time for additional questions.
absolutely.
We'll just wait a moment. Ooh, how do you manage incoming mail? I like that question.
Physical mail.
Yeah, physical mail.
I have, so that's when I was talking about my inbox and my done box. For me, that's mostly what is in those is my physical mail. So I'll put anything I haven't looked at. I actually have two spots. My first spot is a little organizing file that I have that's decorative, that's by my front door. So it's cute, but my husband actually is the one that goes and gets our mail, but he'll just throw it in there. So then I know I have mail. And then I'll be the one to take that and take it upstairs to the office. And I put it in my inbox when I haven't looked at it. And then after I've looked through it, I'll put it in my done box and then eventually file what needs to be filed or recycle what I don't need.
Yeah. And then Sophia asks, are you available to do home design consulting or help decorate an office via Zoom during COVID? And I think that's more, so you said you do FaceTime. Are you also able to do Zoom or any other video platforms to assist?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I can use Zoom, or I think Google has some sources as well. I say FaceTime mostly because I think it's easy to walk around a room for me to see an entire space, but I can be sent pictures and do it all through email. It doesn't even need to be FaceTime or Zoom if that's not something that you're able to do in your home office. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's wonderful. And then Mary Brown says your organizational logic is great, even if it seems like organization isn't quite your thing, or it's not something that you enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's something I've had to work at, but maybe makes me good at it just because I've had to work at it so hard. But it's also important for me. I'm a very creative person, obviously, but being organized when you have a business is essential. So I did just remember one last little tip. If you are buying things to organize, whether it's bins or your pen holders, a great thing to do is to pick three colors and not go beyond those three colors so that you don't have
Mm,
too much going on visually. And even if you only have one color that you really love, so say you love blue, do everything in different shades of blue is also very calming and creates a calming and relaxing environment. And then you don't have, just don't have too much color going on, and it makes it kind of more busy the more colors that you have. So I always stick to 3 or less colors if possible. I know some people's businesses, they need color coding for whatever organizing that they're doing, and I understand that too. But when it comes to decorating, kind of a little rule of thumb is 3 or less colors.
Yeah, no, gosh, that's really, that would help us. I think it's also really hard to match things too. Like as designs and colors and trends change, like, oh yeah, I bought a bunch of office stuff 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And then going back to Walmart, it's like, oh, they have all new colors of things.
Yeah, that's one great thing about sticking to one color that you love. It sounds different, but if you just love the shades of blue, they don't necessarily have to be the exact same shade, but if everything is blue but in different shades, it's very visually appealing, very pretty, and very
Mm,
relaxing to do it that way. And then you don't have to worry about matching the exact shade of blue or green or red, whatever color that you love.
yeah, yeah, no, that's really good. Any other uh, questions or thoughts or anything else that we can assist with today? Once again, I do want to thank Chris Anderson and Gail Miller, Carlene Beaumont,
Thank
Mary
you.
Brown, Mary Dye. I know Marie Demkowski was on earlier. Tim and Steve, it's good to see you guys on here. Does anyone else have questions before we close out stuff for today? Ooh, Tim Stevenson says yes. So we'll wait regarding Zoom. Okay. We'll wait for him to type into that question. All right, and while he's typing, oh, here we go. Oh yeah, yeah. So this is for just a tip for those who are using glasses. You'll often pick up reflections um, from your monitor, and so that can sometimes look a little bit odd on when you're doing a video conference. You'll see reflections off of the glasses. Um, he does say to use a photographer's polarizing filter on the webcam, and you can knock out that monitor reflector. And those you can pick up off of Amazon, I think, pretty inexpensively. That's
Awesome.
an excellent tip, Tim.
Awesome.
Uh,
Thank you.
awesome, and he dropped a link. So those of you, yeah, $5. That's perfect. For those of you who want more information on that, once the recording is posted, you'll be able to snag that link pretty easily. I do want to remind everyone there is another webinar tomorrow for the second round of stimulus. If you guys are eligible or want to figure out if you're eligible for the payroll protection plan, the EIDLs, or the tax credit for employees, uh, I highly recommend it. Aziz Makani will be running through the ins and outs of it. We are going to be trying to get either someone familiar with banking or an accountant in this coming month to kind of help walk us through that too. So that's something that we're working on trying to put together as well. So thank you all for coming today.
Thank
We hope that
you.
you have this was informative. We'll be posting the recording in a day or so. Thank you so much, Devan, for being willing to join us and just share what you're doing and how we can make our homes wonderful.
My pleasure. It was fun. Lots of fun. I'm excited.
Alrighty. Take care, everyone, and stay safe.
Thank you. Bye.